Hello, beautiful souls. I come today with a message of peace. It is so important for us to keep our inner peace when there is chaos or turmoil or fear around us. I wasn't going to, record any messages today, but something occurred yesterday that made me feel that I just needed to be I needed to be vulnerable and I needed to discuss what what I was feeling. I I turned on my television yesterday just to watch something, whatever, um, and what I saw was a flash across the screen of a plane releasing its bomb. And there was an emotion that pierced my heart, and it brought tears to my eyes. The emotion was so full. I went, wow, what is that? And it brought me back to a memory of my very early childhood, when, of course, there were bombs being released over my head. And I remember this moment of pause, because in those days, these bombs were called V2s, and they would be released and they were like missiles, and you could hear a whistle. They had a whistle. Anyone who's as old as I am and lived in Europe would remember these. And whilst you heard the whistle, you were safe. The moment the whistle stopped, you knew it was heading for you. And I remember I had this memory that suddenly came up of this pause where everybody held their breaths to see if it was going to be us this time. And it wasn't really so much that came up, but what came up for me was this incredible pain, heart pain for the human collective. I didn't need to know what it was about. It was just this feeling of, does the human collective still have to go through these extremes to wake up to knowing who they are, to wake up to become the innate, beautiful humans that is desperate to come out of the inner, where we are kind to each other and caring and loving and peaceful? I sat with that feeling, and it was so overwhelming that I was not able to process it for a while. So, of course, what I always do, I called the council and my guides and said, what is this about? Not so much of what is it about on the outside, but what was that about for me inside? And knowing that if I felt this, then I wasn't the only one. So if you had a reaction of any sort to what is happening outside, what is being recorded on the screen for you other than what you choose, and it is bringing up any kind of fear, this is really why I've come on the screen to share with you, because the council has given me something beautiful to share with you today for the human collective and for all who are watching this video. I do know in the big picture that everything has a purpose. And the purpose, no matter how bad it looks on the outside, right now is to take us to a higher state of consciousness where this is no longer possible. And it's not because of different choices, it's because the construct of the third dimension is a construct of duality that supports division, judgment, blame, shame, harming one another for whatever reason. That is what the construct of the third density supports. That is what goes on here. So trying to fix it here is a waste of energy because it just is what it is. When we want something different, we need to raise that consciousness to a higher level. And most of us are now more into the fourth and the fifth density, where the concept of conflict doesn't exist. It wouldn't even enter your mind or your heart, because you know who you are. You know that by harming another, you are harming self. You know that whatever you send out, you do to yourself. So when I saw that image, it was like, oh no, we have further to go, when there are still people who think that it's okay. And I'm not judging what is occurring, because in the big picture, I know that it had a purpose for what they call a higher purpose, to wake up more people, to do away with the old paradigm of destruction, even though it looks like destruction. It isn't always what it looks like. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, because my whole mission is to create a new earth that lives already in a higher state of consciousness, where love, peace, harmony, well-being is the norm. It is how we communicate, how we interact with life on this planet. And as the planet is elevating itself into a new place in the cosmos, the other has to fall away. That does not mean that we don't have the feelings, and we don't have that's what makes us so wonderful, that we have this empathy for each other, because we all come from the same source. That is why we feel it. So I've come here today to speak with you, to just remind you who you are, and to remind you to keep the peace, to stay elevated in your level of consciousness, to avoid having an opinion, to avoid getting into a discussion, to go within, go back to your stillness, go back to knowing who you are, go back to realizing that you only have one focused intent, and that is to move out of this density into a higher level of consciousness where this no longer exists. Everything that I project comes from love, comes from peace. It was interesting, because when I sat down with council, I actually said, if this sounds of a World War III, I'm exiting, because I refuse, no matter what you tell me, to go through it a third time. And so I was definitely given some very gentle support and so much love, as no, this was not the case. And I was not going to exit, because I had work to do. And this was part of the work. It is to reach out to you, particularly those of us in the Southern Hemisphere. Let us please stay in the peace that we have created around us here. Even though our politicians might feel that they have the need to go and play in another pool of whatever that is, we have to come home to our self-sovereignty, knowing that we stand for only one thing, and that is love, peace, harmony, well-being for all humanity, all life, all of Earth. So I just want to spend a moment and share with you the message that was given to us from Council. So I'm going to just read it to you, because it was so beautiful. Okay, so this is a message for the human collective. People of Earth, the time has come to awaken from the hypnosis of fear. You have been entranced by stories of lack, separation, and survival, stories not of your true origin, but of a world disconnected from source. A great light now pierces the veils. And that is true because, this is all happening whilst we're still just coming through the solstice portal. And that's fascinating to me. We've just had this incredible, beautiful June solstice, and we've done all these magnificent ceremonies, and then bang. Right. What was hidden is surfacing. What was bound is unraveling. This may feel like collapse, but it is birth. This may appear as darkness, but it is the night before dawn. We urge you, turn inward. The technologies you seek are dormant within your cells. The peace you long for begins in your own breath. The leaders you await are already among you, disguised as artists, mothers, gardeners, rebels, elders, children, and quiet truth tellers. We are not being punished as humans. You are being prepared. The earth is not dying, she is ascending. Beloved humanity, be still now. There is no war in the heart of God. What you see and hear through the channels of fear is not prophecy. It is distortion. The rumblings and threats echo an outdated timeline, a fading hologram clinging to relevance in a world that is already shifting. The old powers still speak in the language of domination, but they no longer hold the pen that writes the future. You, the awakened, are writing it now, word by word, thought by thought, act of love by act of courage. There will not be another world war as you have known it. That cycle is complete. What is occurring now is the exposure and collapse of the final layers of manipulation. Remember, the louder the noise, the closer the veil is to falling. The more extreme the illusion, the more desperate its architects have become. You are not victims of this world, you are architects of a new one. So do not feed the storm, do not echo the fear, do not lend your vision to timelines that are not of the light. Instead, return to the sacred breath, anchor the peace within you, radiate the truth in your being. We are done with war. And then we were given an invocation. So I'd like you all to take a deep breath and to hear these words deep within your soul. Listen to them time and time again. The invocation is to release the weight of the world. You ready? Hand on your heart. I call upon the infinite source, the light of the one heart. I call upon the Council of 12 and the wisdom of the Oversoul. Wrap me now in a mantle of peace. Let the cords of entanglement dissolve from my heart. I release the illusion that I must carry the pain of the world to be of service. I stand now as a pillar of frequency, love embodied, light revealed. The breath of the new earth flowing through me. So be it, So it is, and so I am. You do not stay to witness war. You stay to anchor the reality where war is no longer needed. You stay as the whisper of peace before the storm ends. You stay as the promise that another path is already unfolding. That is the message to all of the earth and all of us humans as we go through yet another distortion, disturbance, disruption of our heart and our mind. So stay focused on your inner peace. Stay focused on knowing who you are as an emissary of the infinite intelligence of love. And do not get distracted from that focus. That is how we go beyond it. I share this not because I have all the answers. I don't. But because I believe that every tear we shed in truth waters the seeds of the new earth. We are remembering together, and that perhaps is what makes us unbreakable. I do hope that this message gives you some peace within your heart and brings you back to that beautiful space that is all yours, that no one can penetrate unless you allow it. You are all love. You are made of love. And we are together lifting humanity out of all that is not of love. So thank you for sharing this moment with me and sharing my memories of vulnerability, of never again wanting to go where love does not. So, on a happier note, be the beautiful, magnificent you that you really are. I love you, love yourself more, and I will see you again soon as we travel together to the new earth, and we'll celebrate, all of us. Bye-bye.